Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey is always top shelf. Whether you got your start as a Dynasty veteran, a Millbury survivor, or you were born into the Church of Trotz, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, here are your eclectic hosts, Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
The Church of Trotz, Christian. The Church of Trotz. It's all over. It's all over.
What are you doing?
It's just, I'm sad.
We've been sitting here an hour and a half. I told you to get yourself together an hour
Ladies and gentlemen,
ago.
it's Hockey Night in New York.
Oh, my God.
Welcome to the program.
Can you get it together? You're embarrassing
My
me.
name's Sean Cuthbert. With
boy.
me, as always, is Christian What's-His-Shits. Ethan Sears is joining us on the program from New York Post tonight. We're going to talk all about the firing of Barry Trotz.
Oh, my God.
And,
get it together. We'll survive. We'll survive. We can change the intro.
And the hiring of Lane Lambert. Thanks so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. That's right.
Are you better?
I'm trying.
That's embarrassing.
Just when we thought that we were going to have the summertime over, take some time off, Lou Lamoriello goes and just crushes a lot of Islander fans' dreams, like mine. I mean, if you've been a long-time watcher, follower, listener of the show, you know that I have been one of the conductors on the Barry Trotz train. I've always said, sign that man to a lifetime contract.
You have.
And that dream is all but dead. So
Yeah.
I want to thank you
It
all
is.
for joining us for an emotional edition here at Hockey Night New York on a beautiful Saturday.
One of us
here
is
on Long
emotional.
Island. Anyway, yeah, one half of us. That's enough to say it's emotional, I think. Right?
Sure.
That counts.
All right.
So here we are.
I need you to get yourself together.
I'm trying, man.
I can't do this
I'm
a whole
trying.
show.
Listen, man, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. So anyway, we're here. Thanks so much. I want to start by thanking all of our wonderful, wonderful sponsors.
Heck yeah.
We are proud to be presented by RJ Daniels American Bar and Grill, located at 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center. The best place to catch the Isles when you can't be at the game. Head on down for great food and drink specials with plenty of HD TVs and in-game sound. Also happy to be sponsored by Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington, 217 Carlton Avenue in East Islip, and of course, UBS Arena at Belmont. They're an official partner of the Islanders. Check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com for all their great offerings. And we're sponsored by Ty Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. If you're tired of dealing with long hold times and the impersonal service of companies like Spectrum, Optimum, and Verizon, give Ty Technology a call at 516-856-7800 for 3 free months of service. And of course, last but not least, the great Oyster Bay Brewing Company, creator of the Barn Rocker Session Ale, available at 12 locations at the Islanders' brand new home in UBS Arena, and even more distributors across the country from coast to coast. You can also visit the tap room at 36 Audrey Avenue in Oyster Bay 7 days a week to sample all their fantastic beverages. And for those of you awesome enough to be hanging out with us here today in the chat, get your questions in for later. Questions Brewing, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company. So, Christian, like I said, we were not supposed to be here today. We're like Dante from Clerks. Wasn't even supposed to be here today. But yes, we got to talk about it, man. Barry Trotz, Lou Lamoriello decided to shake up not only the Islander world, but the NHL world at large. And Barry Trotz has been sent on his merry way. He's been fired, ladies and gentlemen. He's been relieved of his duties. And just a week or so later,
Yeah.
they bring in associate coach Lane Lambert, or as we've affectionately called him here, Lanebert or Lamebert, which I'm sure will take off even further now that he's the man in charge. But yeah, we're here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the why. We're going to talk about the what. We're going to talk about the how this affects the team going forward. And this is the Barry Trotz Lane Lambert special. So once again, thanks for hanging out with us. Christian, what do you say, CA?
Yeah, that was as surprising a move as any, and I know on Twitter when it happened, I think it compared it to the surprise firing of Peter Laviolette so many years ago. That in the column that I wrote for AM New York, I put it that it was such a disturbing move to the hockey apathetic sports radio here in New York that even they were astonished and angered. And ironically enough, it was almost a similar situation where you had the hockey apathetic New York sports talk radio even talking about it the day it happened when Barry Trotz was fired, comparing it to the fact that Steve Nash, the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, was still coaching them after what was an abysmal season. And the Islanders, a much more understanding reason why Barry Trotz and the Islanders had a season that they did, and a lot of that didn't fall on Barry Trotz. I think that not to go too right into it, but it was just, I don't know. I don't get the move. I don't get it.
You still had to find a way to work the Nets into it, huh?
No, I really.
You could have just left that alone. Everybody knows you cover the Nets
No,
now, Christian.
that wasn't even the reason why I did it. I said it because when it happened, Craig Carton and Evan Roberts, who are the midday hosts at WFAN, were talking about it, and the context of it, of the part of the conversation, was the fact that Barry Trotz, who was one of the most successful coaches in New York, lost his job, and Steve Nash, who had led the Nets to 2 very unsuccessful seasons, still had a job. So that's why I was bringing that up, because that was the conversation. But it was enough so that even people that don't particularly care about hockey were talking about it in astonishment, the way that you saw so many years ago with Mike and the Mad Dog famously calling out then general manager Peter Laviolette for his shenanigans.
You mean Mike Milbury?
Mike Milbury, yeah, I'm sorry, for firing Peter Laviolette. So it's funny how history kind of repeats itself in certain ways, and I think the astonishment around this decision, especially with what came a week or so later with who we found out would be Barry Trotz's replacement, adds to sort of the confusion, I think, of where the organization is headed going forward.
Well, it's an interesting comparison that you make, and I certainly remember that time, and I remember being pretty floored and upset about Laviolette getting the boot. But this is on another level. This is even more shocking, even more surprising. Peter Laviolette didn't have 2 recent seasons of going to the conference finals. I mean, and Barry Trotz has been revered as one of the best coaches in the league. You can actually say that about Laviolette now, but he was a rookie coach then.
Right, yeah, he was still young then.
Yeah, but look, this is on another level. I mean, I think, and I all the credit in the world to T-Boyle13. He's here in the chat, and he's right. He said I called it, and I pretty much ridiculed him on the show
for me.
and said, I said, no chance, Tom, in so many words. I did not say this literally, but I was like, basically lay off the crack pipe. You know what I mean? Like there's no way that's happening. Barry's here to stay. Sure enough, we get not long after the season at all, Barry Trotz relieved of his duties, and I'm still scraping my jaw off the floor, to be perfectly honest with you. It was just such a shock to me. I thought there was no chance. You look at obviously this season was a failure. We've talked a lot about it. It obviously didn't go their way, but I mean, you can't put that on the shoulders of Barry Trotz. I mean, we talked about all the factors that came in, and you could say that Lou Lamoriello had a lot to do with why this team wasn't successful this season. So it's tough to put that all on Barry, which is why, whether we ever find out exactly what was going through the mind of Lou Lamoriello and potentially Barry Trotz, we will not find out until he decides to write a book and still be alive 20 years from now. We don't know if that's going to happen. And I don't think he's the type to put out a memoir. So we probably won't find out, but there had to be more to it. There's no way he looked at this past season and said, Barry's got to go. There's more to it, whether it was whatever vibe he was getting from the players from the exit interviews.
I don't believe that either.
Whatever the case may be, there was more to it, or whether it had to do with his contract coming up. Maybe Barry said, I'm not going to re-up, and maybe he said, well, I want to hang on to Lambert to replace him, so maybe I just make the move now. There's so many potential explanations for this, and we can only kind of speculate as to what those could be, or what the one thing could be.
Right.
But I don't know. It's tough to say, and it's funny. A little more time went by than I think we would have liked to get the show in. We wanted to do it right after the firing. We just couldn't find the scheduling. Mm-hmm. And since then, they've hired the replacement. And, we've already seen that Barry Trotz is interviewing for other jobs. Because I was all ready to say, hey, look, if Barry doesn't take a job next season, maybe he might have had a little more to do with the decision, right? Maybe he said he wanted to go home, whatever the case may be. But he's interviewing for Philly. He's already interviewed for Winnipeg. I'm sure it's not going to stop there. Everybody's going to want to get him in their offices. It's just a matter of who he's willing to talk to. Because, even though he's
Nashville expressed interest in him in a front office managerial role there. He spent so much time in Nashville early in his coaching career as well.
If he still wants a job, whether that's a coaching job or a managerial job, he's going to get a blank check from somebody. Because as far as I'm concerned, he's still the best coach in hockey right now, even if he's not part of the Islanders. And as much as it still stings that he's no longer coaching the Isles. And look, I don't want to take anything away from Lambert. We're obviously going to talk about him and the effect that he's going to have on the team and this quote-unquote new voice that everybody's been talking about. But look, I think it was a gut punch for a vast majority of Islander fans. You even just look at social media, you look at the reactions and just how I mean, they ranged. I mean, Tom Boyle might be the only person who called this, who said he was going to get fired, and was kind of calling for it himself, which is so funny. But, I mean, you can probably count on two hands how many Islander fans are like, yeah, it's time, Barry's got to go. I mean, how many Islander fans were really feeling that way?
Not a lot. I think that they're listen, I think at the end of the day that this talk that the players were more upset than they kind of let on, or there was the speculation that perhaps something was said in those exit interviews and those meetings that took place, and I'm just not buying into it. I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, it was the fact that Lou Lamoriello is making a Lou Lamoriello decision, and this is not something that is foreign to him. If you look back over the course of his career,
I agree with that.
He has done this at other points, namely New Jersey when he was there, twice or so, if I'm not mistaken. Once resulted in a Stanley Cup championship in 2003 or 2000. I forget which.
You could have just played it safe and said early 2000s.
But I wanted to be specific and really tie the string around myself and
right,
weigh
be
it
wrong,
down.
So somebody be like, Christian, you moron.
Yeah, exactly. No, I want to go down in a blaze of glory. Regardless,
Okay.
But you saw that cited so much, and I think the thing that really drove me crazy is the number of columns and the number of people I saw cite those instances, which 100% happened in 2000 when Lou Lamoriello was running in the early 2000s when he was running the New Jersey Devils. Those moves worked. Those moves don't necessarily work, or you don't get lucky twice over the course of your career. And I think that's more or less what has happened here, where Lou Lamoriello has gotten a lot of leeway with certain moves that you go, anyone else makes that and you go, that's a little questionable. And in this instance here, it really rubbed me the wrong way that so many people were quick to cite what happened in 20-something years ago, when half of the fan base wasn't even cognizant enough to understand what was going on the ice, let alone understand why Lou Lamoriello was successful back during those days with the New Jersey Devils. And I think that there should be some real concern now of how much Lou has done over the last couple of years and put the Islanders in the position that they are. Right now, Neil Best wrote a great column right after it, and this is Lou Lamoriello. What happens next is 100% on Lou.
No doubt.
And that's the case, but I think the concern is where is the direction of the organization going? You talked about that new voice. Well, you got Barry Trotz 2.0 basically, and I get Lane Lambert as his own coach, and he's going to be very successful in this league. I don't think it's with the New York Islanders. This is not the position you put someone in to succeed. You don't hire a first-year coach, and I get it. He's been in the league forever. He's coached at every level of this team, including within the Islanders organization.
He still has some ropes to learn as a head coach. Right. You can be an assistant or an associate coach all you want, right, but until you're the man with the spotlight on you and with the duties of a head coach, you're going to be learning on the job. Yeah, it's a good point to make.
And the expectation now is the Islanders need to get back to where they were 2 years ago. They need to get back to a Stanley Cup playoff quarter semifinals appearance. They need
Cup
to get
contender.
Back conference final. They need to be in the Stanley Cup. There's no two ways about it. Getting to the Eastern Conference Final or Conference Final, whatever you want to call it, is just not acceptable anymore. That the next step has to be taken, and is a rookie coach going to do that? I have some serious reservations. As good of a coach I think he's going to be.
Christian, all great points, and we're going to bring in another voice, speaking of new voices here on Hockey Night in New York. So, hey, I want to thank you all for hanging out with us here on your beautiful Saturday evening here with Hockey Night in New York at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY, and, of course, on your favorite podcast providers later on. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Ethan Sears of the New York Post will be joining us.
Nikki, where should I go to watch the Islander game?
Dad, where should Fran go to watch the Islander game?
Just tell her to go to RJ Daniels.
Love the Isles? Go to RJ Daniels and enjoy your favorite hockey team with their big screen TVs and in-game sound. RJ Daniels also provides indoor and outdoor dining, catering, a vibrant late-night bar scene, and weekly live entertainment. Need great planials? Go to RJ Daniels. Call or visit online at rjdaniels.com.
From the Coliseum to UBS Arena, we're still rocking the barn.
We made a product based on something that we're big fans of.
You're going to rock the barn, you're going to have a barn rocker.
Oyster Bay Brewing Company's Barn Rocker, available at UBS Arena and everywhere beer is sold.
I don't want to hear it. It's over. I can't believe they fell short again.
Yeah, but they played so well. They made it to the semifinals 2 years in a row.
The semifinals aren't the cup. God damn it, I hate those Lightning.
They'll get another shot at it next year.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore, all right? They lost, okay? Let me just sit here and enjoy the one thing that makes me a little bit happy. This fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty, turkey-filled Blue Line Combo. I eat 3 every day to help keep me strong.
Hey, Donnie, can I have one of those?
Coming right up. Talk about a blast from the Blue Line.
Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Our goal is to make you a hero.
Well, it's time to get back on the couch for more Islanders therapy with Seany and C. Arnold on Hockey Night in New York.
Welcome back to Hockey Night in New York, a special Saturday edition, a special reaction to Barry Trotz being fired and Lane Lambert being hired as the new head coach of the Islanders in addition. But still, our regular segment, of course, on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Tide Technology. And with us on the line is the New York Post Islanders reporter, Ethan Sears. Ethan, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing well. I think Shawnee's still in a bit of shock.
I'm trying my best.
He's trying to hold it together. It's been a rough week and a half for him. But
it has.
Ethan, I know, I think you were probably as shocked as anyone with what had happened to Trotz and then the decision down the line to hire Lane Lambert. Let's just start with the firing to begin with. Where do you think the disconnect or the kind of breakdown between Lamoriello, or was there a breakdown? What led to this decision to relieve one of the best coaches in hockey?
Well, I mean, to state the obvious, right? It's that the Islanders didn't make the playoffs. That was well short of their expectations. But I mean, beyond that, because as we all know, there were reasons besides their actual play on the ice why the season went poorly. It's a little bit hard to say. I think, certainly you can look at maybe there was some discontent with the young players and maybe how they were being used, how they were developing. Barry was heading into the last year of his contract, so you wonder if that played a factor. But, that's kind of just guessing, right? Because Lou's not the kind of person who's going to come out and say anything, and he's not going to let anybody say anything on his behalf as to what led to that. So it's hard to say, and that's kind of part of what makes it so surprising.
Yeah, for sure, Ethan. Sean here. And, Christian was kind of bringing those points up, and we were just talking about how, we're never really going to know the exact truth. But, I mean, the best we can do here, and I guess this is why we cover sports in general, is to just speculate and try to get into the mind of somebody like Lou Lamoriello. And he has all this experience as a general manager. He has done what you would consider made some controversial decisions when it comes to his coaching staff in years past, like with the Devils. And, I mean, if you were just going to – look, you've covered the team. You've seen how they've performed. You've seen all the various factors that went into this disappointing season. And if you had the opportunity to just get inside Lou Lamoriello's brain, I mean, why do you think he even made this decision? Why was now the time for this new voice that he's been talking about to move on from a very well-celebrated Barry Trotz in Islander country to, giving the reins to now a rookie coach in Lane Lambert?
Well, I think, like you said, it's certainly within his nature and how he's operated in the past to make decisions like this. And I would also say, if you look at this roster, it's not a secret. They're aging. They're probably, if you go into next season thinking that their championship window is still open, which is probably a pretty debatable assertion unto itself, then you probably have to be realistic about how long it's open for with this group. And maybe he looked at that and said, you know what, we got to shake something up while we still can, because, if we want to win with these guys, something has to change. This is something that is changeable and maybe can help. I mean, that's a total, I don't know if that has any basis in reality, but
right.
if you're asking me to kind of, justify it from his standpoint, that would maybe be how I would go about doing it.
Okay.
Talking with Ethan Sears here on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Thai Technology. Ethan, when it comes to the ripple effect, you kind of spoke a little bit, and I think Sean kind of asked that in his question as far as the impact or the maybe potential use of the younger players by Barry Trotz. What sort of impact or ripple effect do you see that having within the organization, not just from the younger player perspective, but some of the veteran guys who, have very clearly kind of latched on to the message that Barry Trotz has heralded for the last 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that changes with Lane Lambert probably isn't the system itself. We don't necessarily know for sure what Lane Lambert's going to run, but I mean, he's worked with Barry Trotz for over a decade. Before that, he was an AHL coach under the same organization as Barry Trotz, so he was running his system. It's probably pretty safe to say you're not going to see a drastic change there. But, from a communication standpoint, when you talk to people who have been coached by Lane Lambert in the past, what they say is he's a really good communicator. He's really good at development. He was an AHL head coach. He knows how to kind of get through to guys. So, I think when Lou talks about a new voice and when we talk about kind of the impact on the younger players, that's where I would anticipate that you'll see a bigger difference, and something that the Islanders would hope, translates to something tangible on the ice.
One thing we've heard a lot, or maybe sort of speculated, I guess it's tough to say with the way the Islanders are run, but was there some discontent, or there was some sense in those exit meetings that certain players had. I don't want to use the word issue, but maybe they weren't as thrilled with Barry Trotz and some of his decisions as others were. Is there any basis of reality, or is there anything that you've been able to kind of learn over the last week or so that maybe that was something that was said, or maybe that those feelings were real and not just more or less speculation like we've seemed to have gotten over the last week because there's not a ton of information?
Yeah, well, like you said, the way the Islanders are run, it's pretty hard to kind of nail anything down with regards to that. But I do think that there's probably some reality within that speculation. Exactly to what extent, exactly who is hard to say, and maybe not something that we'll ever really know. But I think we all kind of saw how certain guys were used, and just kind of, Occam's razor, right? Like it makes sense that they wouldn't be super happy about it.
Right.
So I think you kind of go from there and how you look at the situation.
And Ethan, not to say from a personal standpoint, but do you think a guy like Oliver Wahlstrom or maybe even Kiefer Bellows takes a look at this and, maybe he doesn't celebrate it, but he looks at it as kind of a new opportunity here to get, more of a footing on this roster? I mean, you've seen it all year, guys like him and Kiefer in and out of the lineup, and you had Islander fans up in arms about it, saying give these guys a chance, put them in games. You think maybe this brings a little new energy in for those guys to, get a chance to really get a footing here in the squad?
I mean, certainly you wouldn't blame them for feeling that way. It's worth noting that, when we talked to Wahlstrom in his exit interview, he had nothing but good things to say about Trotz.
Right.
And Kiefer, same thing when we talked to him after the last game. But I mean, yeah, you would think that someone like an Oliver Wahlstrom would probably benefit from a coach who maybe isn't quite so hard on him, maybe is calling him out publicly kind of often. And look, whether, again, it's also worth saying in defense of Barry, a lot of what we had heard from the fans all year was, give Wahlstrom a chance, put him on the top line with Barzal, right? Well, they did try that. It didn't work. And, as much as for the early part of the season, it looked like the minutes were kind of not in line with the production, in the second half, the production really wasn't there from Wahlstrom, specifically. So, on his end, there is kind of that onus to produce. And, there is a certain point where you stop saying, well, this guy has so much potential, just play him more. I don't think we're there yet. He's still pretty young. And and maybe he can do a lot under a new coach. But I don't necessarily think that a new coach solves that issue. And like I said, I don't expect the way that they play and their identity to necessarily undergo a massive shift here.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Ethan. And, you have, I guess, somewhat of an interesting situation where you have somebody coming from Barry's staff that's taking over now as head coach. And this won't be the first time an assistant takes over, but it's interesting because Lou Lamoriello already kind of went out of his way to say the remainder of the coaching staff is still under contract. But sometimes you have a new coach that comes in, they want to put their own stamp on the team, bring their own staff in. Do you foresee perhaps Lane Lambert bringing in some new, I hate to use the word, but voices to work underneath him here, or does he stick with the majority of the guys that have been with him since Trotz took over?
Well, I think part of what that's going to depend on is probably if Barry Trotz gets a new job and wants to keep some of his guys.
Yeah, fair.
Right. And how that would work. And, we know it's been reported that he interviewed with the Jets. And it's been out there that, some other teams are interested in him, unsurprisingly. So, if he ends up taking,
really,
if he ends up taking one of those jobs, does he bring over some of those guys? Maybe. Do some of them stay? Maybe. Someone like Piero Greco, I think was a Lou guy before he went to the Islanders. So you would think on that basis that he would probably be someone who would be more likely to stay if it kind of came down to that. But it's something we'll kind of have to wait and see on.
Talking with Ethan Sears here from the New York Post on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Tide Technology. Ethan, I'm guessing I'm putting you on the spot a little bit with this question, but as far as the outcome, firing Barry Trotz and bringing in Lane Lambert, how much of an impact or how much of a change do you see this making next season? Where is this a move where we look back and go, all right, this was the right decision because the Islanders are about to find themselves back in the Eastern Conference Final? Or is this the decision you foresee maybe not playing out as successfully as Lou Lamoriello would foresee it right now?
Honestly, to me, what matters more as far as what this team is going to do next year is how they go about the offseason. I don't think that the roster that they have as it stands is one that is ready to go and make the Eastern Conference Final again. I think as Lou has said publicly, and as was pretty evident from just watching them, like they need another puck moving defenseman. They need another forward who can score, and preferably one who can play alongside Matt Barzal and unlock some of that potential. So I think those decisions are probably going to have much more of an impact on what this team does next year than a new coach who is, again, probably going to play a pretty similar system. I don't know that it necessarily, will hurt the Islanders a ton. It's hard to say. He hasn't been a head coach, but I don't look at Lane Lambert as somebody who is going to come in and fall on his face. He's been a successful assistant coach. He's been up for these jobs before. He was somebody who probably was going to get a head coaching job in the NHL at some point, whether it was here or elsewhere. So from that end, I think it's a fine hire. But from a roster construction standpoint, I think it's kind of just wait and see how this offseason unfolds.
And with that in mind, Ethan, I am curious now with the offseason upon the Islanders, and we're one month or two away from the draft and free agency. What do you see kind of shaking out for the Islanders? Because as you mentioned, I think roster construction does play a huge part in whether these guys are successful or not going forward. What do you see the Islanders being able to do, or is there anyone in particular that you see them trying to target once we hit the free agency market and we get close to where teams start wheeling and dealing at the draft?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's with the Lou Lamoriello organization, you're always going to kind of be guessing a little bit. Yeah. So with that caveat, Philip Forsberg, if he doesn't end up signing an extension with Nashville, which it seems like he might, is a name that's kind of been connected to them. I think, as I said, they really need a puck-moving defenseman. If you look at the guys who are heading into free agency, particularly on the left-hand side, which is probably where they would look, those names are a little thin, so you wonder, would they maybe go to the trade market? You wonder, especially with the way they kind of not necessarily prioritize their prospect pool in the past, would they look at trading their first round pick? I wonder if that would be on the table. But that's all kind of just me shooting from the hip. Right. So kind of wait and see. I certainly would expect that, that Noah Dobson would get an extension. I believe he hits restricted free agency. Matthew Barzal as well will come into next season being his last year on his contract. So if they can kind of get that locked in and not go into next year with that hanging over the club, that would be a positive. That doesn't really change the roster construction, obviously, but as far as long-term pieces, I think those are two guys that obviously you want to be here for a long, long time if you can swing that.
Ethan, I'm going to leave you with one last question, a little more on the fun side of guessing games, so there's no expectations from you here. But Barry Trotz is interviewing, so he's obviously going to land somewhere else. There's plenty of coaching positions available. There might even be some available who have a job right now that might not have one if he's willing to take it. So where do you think Barry Trotz ends up coaching next season? For fun.
If I had to guess, I would say Winnipeg. That just makes a little bit too much sense, on paper, as far as, he's from Manitoba. He has family in the area. The entire province seems to want him there. The club seems to want him there. No, not at all. Yeah. And they're a team with a roster that is kind of, could foreseeably, make the playoffs and really benefit from Barry Trotz and his kind of ability to get teams to play defense. So that would be my guess. And obviously you would think Vegas would be a possibility as well. But the homecoming aspect of it in Winnipeg just kind of makes a little bit too much sense on paper for me.
Ethan, I'm with you there. The further out west he goes, the better. Because I'll tell you what, if he ends up in Philly, I'm going to have a hard time. I'm going to have a hard time this season. 5 times a season having to see him behind that bench? That would not be fun. But, Ethan, a pleasure having you on tonight. Really appreciate you giving us some time here on the Saturday. And hope to have you on again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it, bud. Take care. All
Ethan
right, folks.
Sears from the New York Post. Sorry, Shawnee, I was trying to let you handle the board. And
oh, good. Go ahead, man.
Ethan Sears from the New York Post. Really appreciate his time as always. Always great insight from him and great stuff all season long in the Post with their full coverage of the Islanders this year.
Yeah,
which was nice to see.
Absolutely,
nice to see.
Absolutely.
And still a lot to talk about here with the move and the transition. Shawnee, I will.
Oh, no.
Where are you going here? It will be tough to deal with you if Barry Trotz does end up going to Philadelphia. Honestly, I'm hoping he goes as far away, far west too, just for my own sake. With the way and the number of times the Islanders would have to see him and how inconsolable you'd be each and every time.
It would be crushing. Listen,
although the Lane Lambert versus Barry Trotz in the playoffs would be quite something, right? It would be like
it would have intrigue.
It'd be like Washington
Reardon versus Trotz.
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
That was fun. But that was when Trotz came to the Islanders.
Right.
So that was a lot more fun. I'd rather not be on the receiving end of that. I mean, look, I have no problem with Lane Lambert. It's already happening. Lane Lambert being the coach of the New York Islanders. It's just at the loss of Barry Trotz is what makes it so tough. Because I think Barry was right. He deserves a job. He was pulling for him to get plucked before Barry was fired.
Yeah.
he was ready to have to replace him at some point, or at least move on from him, right?
Yeah. Couple
and
times.
The fact that he's interviewed with a couple of teams already means that he's ready to take that next step. And I'm more than happy to give him a chance with the Isles. But I mean, you did point out how he's going to be a rookie coach, and he's going to have to learn the ropes here. And look, have rookie coaches won the cup in the past? Yes, it's happened. Is it often? No. And it's really, look, he has some things going for him in the sense that he has great familiarity with the team already, obviously. Mm-hmm. By all accounts, it seems like he has a good rapport with the players. Right. That could change now that he's the man making the decisions. Yeah. but right now, he's got the team behind him, which is good. And look, I thought it was a little cute of Lou Lamoriello to say, during those 3 games that he coached earlier in the season, I got a real good feel.
Did I not tell you back when those games happened that those were his auditions for a coaching job? I said it back then.
Look,
I don't want us to have to go back and find the tape, but I said it back then.
I'm sure they had some good conversations, and he was impressed with what he did. But it was 3 games.
Yeah, and 3 games got him a job. Look at that.
That's all it took.
He didn't coach 3 games the other.
If Barry didn't get COVID, he'd still be here. It was all COVID. Ah, jeez.
Well, and that's the point. Listen, I don't want it to be confused with the fact that I don't think Lane Lambert's going to be a good coach in the NHL.
He's got a big effing shoes to fill.
He's going to be a great coach in this league. I think it's nice to see kind of we talked about it a couple shows ago, the sort of the recycled masses that we have of coaching.
Right.
It's a merry-go-round.
Nice to get some new blood.
It really is. And I'm really excited for Lane Lambert because he's a guy who I think deserved a coaching job years ago. And it's finally come to fruition. Where my concern and my point was earlier is that I think it's an unfair position to put him in, again, because of the expectations that are placed on the Islanders. And it's on. Right. If the system isn't really going to change, which I agree with Ethan, it's really not, Lane Lambert has coached under Barry Trotz or within the Barry Trotz system for essentially majority of his coaching career. It's not much is going to change.
Yeah, and I think it was Kevin Kurtz's piece in the Athletic that said that Lane Lambert is actually very much in part responsible for the system that these Barry Trotz coach teams have employed, where he was kind of an architect behind the way that they play.
Right.
And he's already come out and said that, look, our identity is going to remain as a team that's going to be hard to play against. Now, the question is, will there be some tweaks? Will there be some, will he loosen the reins a little bit on guys like Matt Barzal, guys who are a little more offensively inclined, guys who, they could use putting up some more points during the season? I think that's where you have to be most curious and wonder where the changes are going to come from. Because, they're still going to play shutdown hockey. They're still going to play goaltending out. They're still going to be heavily relying on Ilya Sorokin and as far as we know right now, Semyon Varlamov and, the guys on the back end to make sure that the chances against are minimized. And they're going to capitalize on their opportunities that way, going in transition and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of that's going to remain the same. But, again, is he going to perhaps make a hybrid type of situation of the Barry Trotz style hockey with maybe something new? And I think that's something to watch out for. Now, it might be verbatim the same stuff that we saw. We won't know yet until the puck drops. Right. But this is what we have to speculate about now because, again, it's so funny listening to Lou Lamoriello's press conferences because once again he says a whole lot without saying a whole lot of nothing.
Right.
In the sense that. A new voice, but he's got a different personality, which
sure,
you can appreciate that, yeah, because you're going to connect with a coach differently depending on how they handle you as a player and whatnot, and Lambert's going to have to kind of figure out a way to balance that. But he does have a long rapport of being a head coach in the the other divisions of hockey,
American
if you will, coming
League.
up through the ranks. I believe you have that up there, right?
He coached in the American League. He coached in the Western Hockey League. He was a coach in Prince George. He was an assistant on Moose Jaw.
Okay.
He was an assistant coach with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers in 05-06.
Kind of funny.
He was, right? He was an assistant with Milwaukee for a year before taking the head coaching job from 07 to 2011 when he made the jump in 2011-12 to Nashville as an assistant under, of course, Barry Trotz, following him to Washington, then following him to the New York Islanders. So, listen, again, I don't think it's a conversation of whether or not Lane Lambert's going to be a great coach in this league. I think he will be. I think it's the circumstances and the situation that he's been put under that will be something to watch, and just how much of a change and a new voice, which Lou Lamoriello kind of walked back anyway in the introductory press conference for Lane Lambert.
Right.
So
he didn't realize how much the fan base was going to dissect that phrase.
Well, I mean,
or even the reporters.
I think, yeah, right. I think I think the one thing that I don't love in this situation either is kind of the lack of transparency with some of the decisions here, right? You look at a lot of things.
Does he owe that to us though? Like,
I think so. I think that the tides are turning. You look at a lot of teams, a lot of other teams in this league. A lot, even look at the Chicago Blackhawks. They were updating you every step of the way as far as the head coaching. This guy came and interviewed.
Well,
for
they're
job.
under a huge microscope right
no,
now
but then
for reasons outside of just coaching.
But not even the Blackhawks. You look at the New York Giants. They were doing the same thing when they were interviewing for head coaches. Other teams in other sports are doing the same thing. I think that the lack of transparency kind of flies in the face, especially when you have people paying an exorbitant amount of money to go see these teams, the investment emotionally and financially making these teams. Look, I get it. I made those faces for a long time.
Well, I'm
too.
one of those people, Christian.
And
I don't speak for everybody in the fan base, of course. But look, I'm just there to be entertained and to see my team win. That's it. Like,
right, but
I don't look. Would I love?
But you hate the Islanders, so it doesn't matter. You're not a real fan, so your opinion means nothing.
Right, of course. Right. I don't have them literally branded on my flesh. But
do you really?
Yeah, man.
Where?
On my arm, not that arm.
Really?
No. Yeah.
Oh, I've never noticed that.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, I don't typically show you my arms, so. Okay. It's fine. Yeah, no,
Fair enough.
Yeah. So anyway,
that's a good response.
Right. Thank you. So
see, that's why they should be consulting you specifically, because you literally got them tattooed on your arm. If that's not financial and emotional commitment,
but see, at the same time,
if nothing else, you should be emotionally committed to an asylum for that.
That sounds semi-outrageous, right? To put them on your flesh, but at the same time, like when they're losing, like. Life goes on for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't live and die by these guys.
But there are people that do.
And I respect that. Look, everybody can fan however they want. As long as you're not hurting or harming anybody else, fan however you like. That's fine. But, nice.
Thank you.
But just to get back to where we were trying to go with this, was that I don't think Lou Lamoriello owes it to me to give me a nice A to Z list of why he makes every decision he makes. There's a reason why he has that job, why he's entrusted by ownership to have that job, make the decisions that he makes. Now, you can criticize what he does all you want, but he doesn't have to explain himself to me because that's his job and that's what he's going to do. He's going to...
Right, but if you don't...
And he has the rapport where... He doesn't need to tell us. And he doesn't have to tell the average fan why, because the truth is the average fan doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Wow.
It's true. Well, it's true.
It's Saturday, and we're just swearing on the show today.
It's true.
Twice off the bat, too. Jesus. No, I mean, my disagreement in that sense is I think that, sure, if the team is successful, you don't have to show your work. But when the team isn't successful and part of that is on you as the general manager, you need to show a little work. It has to go back to the math class rules in 4th grade where, you get the answer, but you can't just get the answer. You got to show me why the answer is. Because at that point, you've lost, at least in my mind, you've lost a little bit of that wiggle room where, all right, I trust you. I understand that you're making the best decision that you think of, and I'm just going to go along with it. After some of the things that have transpired over the last year or so, I don't necessarily agree that that Islanders management blindly deserves that at the moment.
I guess, look, I tend to give management and coaching staffs the benefit of the doubt that they know what they're doing and what they're talking about. And also, beyond that, they get to see the ins and outs of everything that's going on with their team and their organization.
Sure.
And sometimes the explanation isn't something they can or are willing to share. I'm not saying that literally applies to this circumstance, but there's things that go on in locker rooms, there's things that go on in practice that
you're just never going to hear about.
Fans are not privy to.
Right. No, I
understand. You don't know what goes on behind those closed doors. And really, I don't think it's in our position to say, hey, what happened in that closed door meeting? And is that a reason why you fired so-and-so? And if it is, tell me what happened in that closed door meeting. Like, that's not our business.
But
that's not how they're going to run their business.
And I agree that's not how you should run a professional sports franchise, right? I agree that you don't react to the whim of the fan base left or right, wherever.
Right, because then you're terrible at your job.
Right, but at the same time, there is a certain amount of transparency that I think is owed to the people that support the team and put in so much financial, emotional support to this organization. Listen, if you're going to talk about every game, night in and night out, how great the fan base is and this and that, and you have the best fans in hockey, and then you're not going to have the you're not going to go out and at least give them a little bit of, all right, this is why we're making these decisions. When it comes to one that so wildly impacts the organization and the franchise going forward, I don't think that's fair either. I'm not saying that you have to go out and explain every little thing that happens, but when it comes to a decision like this, there's a little bit I think that's owed to the fans as to why you're going out and making a decision of this magnitude, and then following it up with another decision that brings in someone that, look, again, great coach, going to be really successful, but you're putting him in a position where there's a lot of pressure on Lane Lambert to be successful now. And there was always going to be pressure for him to be successful
Right,
anywhere.
and he knows that, and it's part of the reason why he accepted the job.
But it's an extra ounce of pressure, an extra emphasis of the pressure with where the Islanders need to be next season.
And the funny thing about this conversation is Barry Trotz is actually very forward with his decisions. And he was kind of the polar opposite of Lou in that regard, where he was willing to tell you why he did things or what went wrong. Or
that's part
he even second guessed himself after the season and said, maybe I should have done this, maybe I could have done that.
Well, that's part of the narrative too. Now you have that. Was Barry Trotz and the Lou Lamoriello dynamic
forthcoming?
Well, too forthcoming, or where was the dynamic between the two of them? Obviously, there's what's said in public, and respect this and that. But you look at some of the things that were said during press conferences, and you look at kind of different things that happened, and you could kind of infer sometimes that maybe Barry wasn't necessarily thrilled with the roster construction. Right? There were a couple instances where he kind of talked about that almost in a interesting way. So I think that, yes, we're never going to know the full story, and it is what it is at this point. You can't go back and change it, but the greater narrative and the greater point, I think, is there is some transparency that is owed to the people that support this team unconditionally, for better or for worse, for their own emotional stability. It works out for us because they tune in every week, but still.
Right. Look, they have press conferences. They do address the media, which is basically you're our ears. You're the fans' ears, right? When you're in the room, when you're asking the questions.
That's what they say anyway.
Yeah, you do your best. You're still working on it, but that's fine. But you're with the Nets now, so it's not our problem anymore. But look, again, I don't speak for everybody else, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that disagree with me, and that's fine. I just don't think...
I'd like to hear from those people. Let's hear from more of those
people. I don't think they owe us a line-by-line explanation. I think, you put a little faith in the staff that the organization hires, and you hope that they do the right thing. Now, look, if you don't like the decisions, if you don't agree with them, look, nobody's forcing you to buy your tickets, if they're not winning, too. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's saying you must attend these games. You must buy tickets. You must buy that jersey. Love the team, and you can do it on whatever level you're comfortable with. If you support what they're doing, go to the games. If you don't, you don't have to, So, look, maybe Lou, he obviously comes from an older school, position here. He's been around the block quite a few times, and this is just the way he does things. He likes to kind of keep things cloak and dagger and keep things in-house. And I think, you can respect that too, where, look, our business is our business. We run our organization the way we do, and just, trust in the fact that we're trying to make the best decisions to make this organization successful. And even though this last season was a step back, I think ultimately the body of work that Lou Lamoriello has had with this team since he's taken over has been absolutely night and day to a decade or two previous.
Yes. But also a large credit of that goes to Barry Trotz and the way he was able to, pull together and help the Islanders go to reach greater feats than I think anyone ever would have expected from the team.
Christian, it's why I was sobbing at the top of the show. I know what Barry Trotz brought to this team without question, and that's why I'm still upset that he's gone. But I think there has to be credit given to both of them in the sense that there was a culture change in this organization, and the two of them worked in tandem to make that happen. And the stuff that Lou probably has brought and brings to the table is more of the things you're not going to see. They're more of the behind-the-scenes thing where Barry Trotz is more coming out there on the ice, obviously with the success, the wins and losses and whatnot.
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so even though not much has changed, what do you say we just go to What's on Tap?
Sure. What is on tap?
See what's on tap, yeah.
Another coaching change?
And
you never know.
It's time for What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill.
That's right, folks. It's time for What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill in Rockville, center. So nothing has changed as far as that goes. The same things that were on tap in our end of season show are the same things now. It's summertime. The warmer weather's coming.
It's here.
It's golf time. I'm sure some Islanders have already hit the links already.
Yeah.
And
Memorial Day weekend.
But we're closer to the draft.
That's coming up too.
That's coming up. That is
free agency.
July 7th, a Thursday. What's going on with the Thursday start to the draft here?
I have no idea. You're looking at me like I have an
Friday
answer.
and Saturday. I mean, you're semi-connected.
I have no idea. Maybe it has something to do with prime time. Maybe it has something to do with the ESPN calendar. You never know with
something
that.
to do with Canada.
Something to do with Canada, maybe. Who knows? But I mean, listen. This is the NHL. In fairness, is a league that always likes to mimic the other ones, and the NFL notoriously has its draft start on Thursday.
Is that
and run
right?
into the weekend. So
interesting.
I mean, I'm sure it has nothing to do with that, but you can kind of infer. You can kind of make things up.
I mean, look, if you want to send Gary Bettman an email requesting a line-by-line explanation as to why they changed the draft to Thursday, maybe you'll get an answer. But, yeah, Thursday, Friday, I guess they'll do the same thing, the first round on the Thursday night. The lottery has happened since we did our last show. The Islanders will have the 13th overall pick in the first round. Montreal, pretty cool. They got the number 1 as it takes place up there.
It'll be very exciting for them.
Yes, absolutely. And we're definitely going to have some draft coverage as well. Stay tuned for that. Might have some fun news regarding that. TBD. And then, of course, as you mentioned, free agency July 13th. Not much has changed in the way of that. We still need the playoffs to end. And I think you're looking. I mentioned it in previous shows. Decent list of available free agents that the Islanders might be able to look at.
Yes, we'll obviously dive into that a little bit more
as we get closer.
But
yes,
certainly there's some options. This is one of the most important offseasons the Islanders have had ever, and so this will be a very, very big one to watch, and certainly we'll be keeping an eye on everything that's going on Isles.
Yeah, and Ethan was 100% right when he said that. As much as an effect that Lane Lambert may have on this team next season, it's really going to come down to the moves that Lou Lamoriello makes this summer to improve the roster. So
100%.
All TBD there, but that's pretty much what's on tap. So fun little segment there.
Yeah.
That was What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill.
That's right, folks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take one more short break. Then we will get into the Hero of the Week. Hero of the Week, you say? Yeah, we still got heroes, even though the Islanders have been off the ice now for a little while. So we're going to take that break. I want to thank you all for tuning in to twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY and your favorite podcast providers. We'll take that break, and we will be right back.
Customer service is the backbone of any great business, and reliable telecommunication is essential to keeping your client base happy. Introducing Ty Technology, a low-cost, flexible internet phone service founded on the idea that every customer deserves exceptional service while providing simple setup and management and easy integration to clients across the country. Ty Technology will not only create a custom solution tailored to your specific needs, but will partner with you to provide a competitive edge to you and your clients. And if you need support, you won't be routed to an automated call center in another country. You'll get a live representative that had a personal hand in building your account. So Islander fans, if your business is looking for a change from companies like Spectrum, Verizon, or Optimum, Ty Technology is offering 3 free months of service for any of its affordable packages. Just call 516-856-7800. That's 516-856-7800. Or visit them on the web at TieTechnology.com. That's Tie, T-I-E Technology.com. Ty Technology, the right choice for your internet phone service.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you hear this song, that means it's time for the Hero of the Week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagel half-price hero, which is none other than the Hockey Night in New York, featuring grilled chicken, buffalo sauce, mozzarella cheese, and an avocado wrap. Get it for half off all week starting tomorrow. That is Sunday through the end of the week. We're probably not doing a show next week to announce another one. So you basically got your Saturday to Saturday, half off the Hockey Night in New York. Stop on into the Huntington location, mention Hockey Night New York podcast to get 50% off the wonderful, wonderful wrap from Blue Line Deli and Bagel. So with that out of the way, Christian, let's have a little fun here. A little post-Islander season Hero of the Week. Why don't you start us off? Who is your hero?
My hero of the week is Ian Cole.
Ian Cole, tell us why.
From the Carolina Hurricanes.
You got that?
Yeah.
Were you going to say Panthers?
No, I was about to say Panthers.
Okay.
Mixed up my sports for a second.
Right.
Ian Cole obviously scored the game-winning goal for the Carolina Hurricanes against the New York Rangers, who they lead 2-0 in the series as it heads back to New York. I forgot Brendan Smith also scored the game-winning goal last night.
He's your runner-up.
He's my runner-up hero of the week.
Okay.
He was also next Ranger, so that one had to sting a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So look at you. You are on the anti-Ranger bandwagon.
I'm not. I'm just playing along with the bit.
Oh, I see. God forbid you admitted any sort of rooting interest in sports here. No, I get that. You got to play. You got to play it straight.
I mean, it's not even playing straight. I'm playing.
No, it's cool.
along
It's
with
cool.
the-
It's cool.
okay.
No, I got it.
Playing along with the bit.
Yeah.
'Cause
So
your pick is
so to play along with the bit, a similar pick from a different team. That's right. My hero of the week is Nicholas Paul. Man with 2 first names. Can't trust him.
Paul.
Can't trust him. But he did score.
Oh, Ian Cole is 2 first names. Cole's a first name. Ian's a
That's
first name.
true.
So
That's true. 2 men you can't trust.
Can't
Look at him
trust.
right there. Look at those mugshots. Nick Paul, everybody, scored the 2 goals in the Game 7 against the Toronto Maple Leafs that once again had them fall short up there in the Great White North. Yet to win a round in the NHL playoffs since 2004. What a shame. What a shame that is. So there's your heroes, Nick Paul, Ian Cole. Off the board, heroes of the week, because, there's really nothing to talk about with the Islanders. And surprise, surprise, T-Boyle13 chimes in and says that Lou Lamoriello is his hero. And in big, bold letters, he said, fire Trotz. So Tom Boyle, one of 7 people who wanted Barry Trotz fired.
I will remember this.
Season.
Never mind. I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
Uh-oh. All right. Fair enough. So, folks, there you have it. Your heroes of the week.
Stopped myself.
Remember, stop on in to the Huntington location of Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Tell Donnie Bagels that Seany and Christian from Hockey Night New York sent you to get half off the Hockey Night New York wrap, the wonderful, delicious, best item on the menu. That's right. That's
delicious.
right. So, Christian Arnold,
Although I will say the Blue Liner is probably one of my favorites up there with the Berkey.
I haven't had the Berkey yet.
It's delicious.
Yeah? Do you remember what's in it?
It's turkey and ham and
Is it really? Is it really turkey?
I don't know what it is.
You're making things up.
I'm making it up.
Okay.
But you go to Blue Line. By the way, it's funny. So I was in Florida last week actually, which is part of the reason why we couldn't do the immediate reaction show.
Yes, you definitely got in the way of making plans. Yes.
Making planials.
Making planials. Nice job.
Go to RJ Daniels if you want great planials.
That's right.
No, I was in Florida, and surprisingly, believe it or not, I went to a hot yoga class on one of the
Is
last
that right?
days I was there. Yeah,
Well, Bikram yoga?
I don't know what that means. Went with a friend of mine, and so as we're wrapping up, I had my Blue Line Deli on, the blue one that I wear, not the gray one that I'm rocking today.
Sure. Yeah.
And she got this lady cuts up and she goes, "Excuse me, this is gonna sound weird, but you're wearing the address on that shirt is my hometown." I said,
Huntington, Long Island.
Huntington, Long Island.
How about that?
I said, "Oh, that's crazy. You should go next time you're home." I said, "Go to Blue Line Deli. Tell them Christian Arnold from Hockey Night in New York sent you."
And then they will turn you
They
right
will
around.
send you right out the door. No, but it was just very funny. People from Long Island all over the place, and Donnie probably has a new customer headed our way thanks to us.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Or other alternative here is she looked at you and said, "I don't trust this man," and said, "There's no way I'm going to Blue Line Deli and Bagels. I would not take a recommendation from this man."
She was very friendly, so I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's probably just being nice.
Probably.
Well, that's a nice story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice
True story.
Little
True
hot
story.
yoga. Look at you.
Yeah.
So how do you feel after? You going to keep it going, buddy, now that you're back in New York?
That was a...
there's a studio right here on Long Island. Well, in this town that we're in right now.
Really?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, buddy, it's right around the block.
It was very hot. It was... I mean,
You don't say. That's why they call it hot.
No. It was like...
Yeah, no, you sweat.
No,
Yeah, I've actually done it myself.
I thought I was going to throw up at one point at the end.
It's demanding.
Yeah. Demanding, it takes a toll on your body.
But you survived.
I did.
I mean, look, I don't know how Florida hot yoga compares to New York hot yoga.
Oh, it was brutally hot. Like,
Did they even really need to juice the temperature?
It was juiced. Whether they needed to or not, it was juiced. And,
right.
And like I said, I was close to passing out and or throwing up at the end. So,
I'm proud of you, man. You got through it.
Yeah,
you got through it. So there you have it, folks. Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Spreading the word beyond just Long Island.
Listen, Donnie, send us our royalty checks for that one.
Yes, please. Please put it in the mail. So there you have it, the heroes of the week. And, I mean, is there anything else we want to cover here on the coaching change? Or you just want to take it to questions?
Let's go to questions, Bruin, which are most likely about the coaching change anyway.
Most likely.
It's time for Questions Brewing, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company, Long Island's Gold Coast Brewery.
That's right, folks. It's time for Questions Brewing, brought to you by the great Oyster Bay Brewing Company and their wonderful summer peach. Summertime is just around the corner. The weather is getting warmer. Why not enjoy a wonderful summer peach hanging out in the summer? And also, folks, don't forget, you get 15% off at oysterbaybrewing.com with promo code HNINY. Christian, you okay?
What was that?
What? What's the matter?
The summer peach in the summer?
That's right. I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Buddy, we're plugging our sponsors.
It makes sense in a lot of different ways.
Okay. Enjoy your summer peach in the summer. Jeez. I mean, you can do it in the winter, too, but, I mean, it's just more appropriate in the summer.
All right, let's keep going.
All right, so, Christian, I hope I gave you enough time to get some questions here. It doesn't look like it, though.
Oh, no, I was...
Yeah, remember your job? You know how I always start the segment? And you know, maybe I do a bit like that to give you some time to wrestle up some questions that we're brewing.
Yeah,
so,
T. Boyle.
T. Boyle. Here we go.
Off the bat, does Barzal have anything to do with this firing?
I hope not, in the sense that I can't imagine Matt Barzal having something specific to say about Barry Trotz or his discontent with the system, and Lou Lamoriello saying, well, Barry's got to go. Now, could he have been a dissenting voice in the exit interviews or something like that, and maybe voice some frustration with the system or not putting up points? Sure, maybe. But ultimately, I don't think Matt Barzal is a large reason why it happened.
And in fairness to T. Boyle, I think his question really kind of pertains to, was the decision was at least part of, or perhaps even a small part of the decision, based upon not something that Matthew Barzal said, but perhaps his impact and his connection with Lane Lambert, that Lou Lamoriello took that into account. And I think that's more or less what T. Boyle was asking. He can obviously defend and correct us if he wants.
Look, because we really don't know what the hell the reason was, sure, that is a fair possibility. It could be. I don't know. But, you know, I don't think it's as extreme as the sample I provided in the beginning of this answer.
Right.
You know, I think it would be something more subtle or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
could he have had something to do with it? Sure.
I mean, I think if it's that, it's not a direct, like, oh, he said something in his exit meeting and was like, I want this guy gone.
Highly doubt that.
Because, yeah, it just doesn't seem likely. Perhaps the
right.
thought of
perhaps
the thought of, you know, all the different reasons, the connection, the lack of maybe holding him back potentially on his offensive game to better his defensive game, this, that, and the other thing. So it's a possibility. Question brewing from Mike4562Co. Question brewing, who is going to lead the Isles in points next season? And, of course, that answer is going to be Philip Forsberg.
I love that answer. I wasn't even going to get that creative. I was going to keep it within the current roster, but you know what?
Or Chychrun.
Sign me up for that. Well, if Chychrun's leading the team in points, then whatever they dealt for him to get him would be a steal, because he's gonna have to put up a lot of points.
Like that year Mark Streit led the team in points or something like that, right?
Yeah, but I mean that was with 52, I think it was, or something like that.
It's not a high number.
You're right. Like, I mean,
it's a joke.
It would be nice to see, like, you look at the numbers, like the McCarr and Yossi put up this season. Like, I mean, guys, basically a point a game clip as a defenseman. Pretty insane. Can Noah Dobson do something like that?
I think that...
Can we see a 60, 70 point season out of Noah Dobson? That's my question brewing for you.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's a lot to ask for him still, even at his age. You know, I think that there's still some development. I think that's a lot of pressure to put on him. I don't know if that's a reality right now. Maybe in a year or two, that's more of a possibility for him, which is a great thing.
It could depend on his partner. It could depend on whoever fills that Philip Forsberg spot, you know?
Yeah, right. I stand by Philip Forsberg as my answer.
I'm going to go...
Lane Lambert. He's going to lead the team in points.
Maybe at pointing the finger. But... maybe not points on the board. I'm going to go with Matt Barzal. I'm going to go with Matt Barzal.
Do you think his offensive game breaks out a little more next year?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I think that he's going to be a little more productive, whether that's a direct effect of Lane Lambert or bringing in Lou Lamoriello, bringing in another top 6 forward. I think Matt Barzal is going to have a better year point production-wise, so I'm going to go with him.
Do you think, before I ask this question, I got to point out, I hope Mike 4562 is joking with the comment he just made in the chat, because it's so wildly kind of comical to just read like the first line into it and then the content of the message.
Interesting. Look, sure, that's possible. Sure,
I have to imagine he's joking around.
I would think so. But like, we don't know. I don't know. I don't think Mike's joking. I actually think he's serious. He wasn't joking. There you have it. See? Yeah, look, is that possible? I mean, you got your, 6 degrees of separation right there? My cousin's brother's...
My cousin of mine's
uncle who worked there once.
Yeah,
I mean, look, not to take anything away from this individual that you know, could be telling the truth. I mean, can't imagine they would lie to you, but like whether or not they actually know what they're talking. I mean, it's tough. It's tough for us to bring something like that onto a show like this.
I wasn't trying.
No, I know. But we're having fun with it now, so this is fine. So like, look,
we love you.
Yes, of course. But a lot of us have that.
I will say my sister's best friend's twice removed cousin's father-in-aw's third cousin,
right? Sure.
Also works in the Isles office and says that's not true. Just texted him right now.
Right, but like everybody, like a lot of people have that, right? Like, oh yeah, my friend's cousin or somebody's spouse or whatever works for the Giants, front office, and they heard this and they heard that.
In their defense, though, it is amazing how many people, and I'm not even joking. It is amazing how many people do have like a legitimate connection. Like one of those wild, like, oh yeah, my best friend's father's dog, is the team ball boy. Something ridiculous like that, and you're like, oh, this guy's got to be crazy.
And just for the listeners, and again, take this for whatever it's worth. We're not putting any stock in it whatsoever, but just so you know, because you're not here in the chat and you're not reading it, but basically, Mike here in the chat saying a cousin of his has a friend whose father works in the Islanders office, saying that it had to do with Barry's handling of the youth, combined with the exit interviews, which
that makes sense. That's a
perfectly plausible explanation. Yeah. For what happened. And like, because we're working with so little, sure, put that one up on the table. Maybe that is what it is.
Whoa. Mike 462 just put something so dastardly inappropriate in the chat. It's on Long Island, Mike. It's on, not in. I don't know who you think you are. Now we can't take anything you're saying.
Anything we said, just wipe it from your memory, because it's not credible, because he said in Long Island rather than on Long Island.
My cousin is a teacher in Long Island.
How dare you? How dare you?
He calls himself an Islander fan.
And he showed up late to the show.
He showed up late to the show. What the hell? And he missed all your swearing too.
I know. I was in rare form today. But look, when you lose a man you love so dearly like Barry Trotz, it does.
What are we going to do about the intro? Do we have to hire someone to fix this now?
I mean, technically,
is it going to be?
You could still have been born in the Church of Trotz, even though it's no longer in service at Northwell and at UBS. But
I was about to say IBS Arena.
But listen, we will still be holding weekly sermons for the Church of Trotz. Nothing has changed just because he doesn't coach the team anymore.
Is this going to be like the Die Hard 2 dub at the end where the TV version where Bruce Willis's character says "Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon," and it has that terrible dub at the end?
You know what the best
if you were born into the Church of Lane Lambert
could do that. Maybe we get a brand new interest. So many things could happen between now and next season. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't really figured that out yet. Because again, all those things are now just part of Islander history. Whether you got your start as a dynasty veteran, or you were a Millbury survivor, or you were born in the Church of Trotz, you can still have been born in the Church of Trotz, even though he's no longer with the team. But you can convert to Lambertism or whatever it is you want to do. I mean, you're free. Lambert.
We gotta work on this. Well,
look. Yeah. I mean, look. If he is not successful, I'm pretty sure his nickname is very quickly going to be Lame Lambert, right, or something like that.
I mean,
you don't want. He's got to win. Otherwise, he's going to be Lame Lambert.
You don't want to envision that at this.
I don't. No. I wish him all the success in the world, but we have become kind of by accident a show of stupid nicknames.
Yeah, no, we have.
Knobson.
I don't even want to say they're stupid. I think they're fantastically.
Richard
they're
Panik,
accidentally.
Thomas Panik.
They're accidentally fantastic.
I think they are. Knobson is a great one.
Richard Panik.
Yeah, Lanebert or Lanebert, either one. Richard Panik. Yeah, and there'll be more. There'll be more.
There will be more.
Like R2D2. Like when Atu finally gets to the team. I mean, obviously, this guy's going to be R2D2, right? I mean, something like that.
It's going to be very confusing for people.
Ratu. Yeah. Well, look, that's you know, that's just the fun we have on this show. Is what it is. And I was going to have a thought, and I totally lost it because we went on this sidetrack. But I actually had something decently worthy of saying, and I'm stalling, trying to reach into the
inside of your brain.
The inside of my brain, which is very cavernous at this point in my life. Yeah, I think it's gone.
All right, it happens.
Yeah, it does. It does. But look, let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you the same one that I asked Ethan. Where do you think Barry ends up?
I think he ends up in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love.
You're such a heel.
No,
you're the biggest heel on this show.
I think if Philadelphia is smart, they throw every ounce of money that they can muster in the organization at him and say, "Come save us," because they have been a team that's just been in disarray. I'm not even saying it now as trying to be a jerk. Yeah. I'm saying it because if Philadelphia can finally get a coach there, right, that just righted the ship with another organization that was in a similar boat, right? I think the appeal for the Philadelphia Flyers, and maybe if Barry's still up for it at this point in his coaching career,
go West, please. Also a great band.
Is the idea of having been through sort of a similar circumstance and doing it with such ease. So I think if I'm Philadelphia, I want this man in my organization as quickly as possible.
Who wouldn't?
The Islanders.
Well, at least the guy at the top doesn't want him there.
So
I wonder how that conversation went with Ledecky and Malkin. Listen, guys. Remember that coach that I brought in to win us a cup? He's got to go now. And the guy that just brought us to 2 straight Final Fours, it's time for him to go. And by the way, you're gonna have to pay him the last year of his contract. You know that $4 million that he's got due next year? You're gonna have to give it to him, and we're gonna part ways. How did that conversation go? But I do remember what I was gonna say before.
Oh, great!
It was the tangent that we went on before with the dubs, the overdubs.
Oh yeah.
So the best overdub I've ever heard in a movie.
Wow, we're going way back.
Yeah, I love this. So you ever see, I hope you saw this movie because it's like a top 10 comedy for me. Pineapple Express.
Yeah, of course.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
But
are you talking about like the TV dubs when you watch it on the
yeah, like if you watch it on TBS. so for the MF word, which what I could use it, whatever. But for MF,
I mean, you said it once,
right? Instead of saying that,
for those joining us late,
they would say muckalucka. Like, you serious with that muckalucka? The first time I ever heard that, I lost it. And I've now used it in conversation.
Muckalucka.
Muckalucka.
Interesting.
You stupid muckalucka.
That is phenomenal overdub.
Right? Love that.
That's actually, I actually think that's I'm almost better than actually just saying the word.
Right? It's more fun.
So ridiculous.
Muckalucka.
That was Questions Brewing, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company, Long Island's Gold Coast Brewery.
You guys sound very similar.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we just hired the guy out, paid a premium for him, did a fantastic job. And look, if there's similarities, I don't know what to tell you, but it's purely coincidence. I don't know who that person. I don't know who that muckalucka is.
I don't know who that muckalucka is.
Indeed.
Indeed. Muckalucka.
So, listen, I think we get to wrap things up now. I think that's pretty much it. This is our impromptu Islanders devastating coaching change special edition of Hockey Night in New York. The Barry Trotz era is officially over, and I am not officially over it yet.
Nicely done.
Thank you. But look, this is the reality we live in now. I'm going to deal with it. It's going to be fine. They still have a good, strong core. What?
Oh, no, the Preakness, the big horse racing event. It ran today, just now.
Maybe just pay attention to what's happening in the show right now.
Early voting.
Go through your Twitter feed
early
later.
Voting, 5-1 odds wins it.
Cool.
For anyone who
awesome.
cares.
Thanks for sharing that with us. It's good to know that you're dialed in to the show.
You were talking about overdubs for the last 5 minutes.
That's part of the conversation.
I wanted to see what was going on in other sports. This is one of the biggest sporting events.
This is what I have to deal with. This is what I have to. Guys literally going through his Twitter feed in the middle of a show. In the middle of a show. I mean, look, it looks better than when you just pull the phone out and it's like in front of your face and you're just scrolling through it. Like this, at least, it looks like you might be researching something for the show.
I was researching who won the Preakness.
Right. Well, there you have it, folks.
To announce to our listeners. Maybe
there you
go.
So
maybe Mike 4562 Co has money on the ponies.
I mean, yeah, maybe. So anyway, look, the Lambert era begins, and it's gonna be fun. I can't even keep a straight face. No, it's gonna be fine. Like
it's gonna be great.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
It's that meme where the dog is just sitting there and says everything's fine and fire's burning. I'm not saying that's what's happening with the Islanders. That's Sean's emotional state at the moment.
Yeah, pretty much for the last week and a half, whatever it's been. But look, still got a good young core. I mean, I almost said Barry Nelson.
Who's Barry Nelson?
Well, Barry Trotz is on the brain, man. Brock Nelson had a great year, breakout year goal scoring wise. Look, there's Lee put plenty of goals up this
Barry
year.
Nelson?
Barry Nelson, yeah. Plays for the Isles.
Good
so,
Lord.
yeah, maybe we are going off the rails a little. But look,
the hilarious thing is it's not me.
For once. But look, there's still plenty of hope for this team for next season. Yeah, it's happening right now. It really is. So, obviously, it's going to depend a lot on what Lou does with his additions to the team. The top six forward.
Nelson.
The top Barry Nelson. Barry Nelson. We're terrible.
Uncle Nelson.
Buddy, I mean, that's probably as bad as Thomas Panik. I mean, that's my Thomas Panik, Barry Nelson.
Listen, Thomas Panik at least made some sense, some semblance of sense.
I guess that's a reach, but we'll go with that. Uncle Nelson, I like that one too, Jay. Thank you for chiming in there. But yeah, Major Nelson like that too. See, look, the chat's getting involved now. This is going great. But look, fear not, folks. Still a big offseason ahead for the New York Islanders. And yes, all eyes are on Lou Lamoriello because he made the very, very controversial decision
to fire Barry Nelson.
To fire Brock Trotz.
He hired Barry Nelson as coach to fire him to confuse everybody.
It's messed up. Yeah, so the Lane Lambert era begins. We're going to be on top of it. Unless something else exciting in Islanderland happens between now and the draft, we're probably going to take some time off.
Yeah.
We thought we were, and then here we are, so you never know what might happen. Maybe we see some changes in the assistant ranks of the team. I'm not sure that'll be worthy of a show.
Say, was that bringing us out?
I don't know if that's going to get us doing a show. But look, if there's any big news, we'll come back. But aside from that, please enjoy your summer, enjoy your June, enjoy your early July. We'll be back in action for the draft.
When Barry lands somewhere, are we doing a show? When he lands in Winnipeg or Philadelphia or Vegas or wherever.
Yeah, no, that'll be a solo show of me crying in the bathtub. I'll just do like a live, Twitter from the phone, just in the fetal position. Barry signed with the Flyers. Yeah, it's over, man. I can't believe it. Over too soon. Over way too soon. Oh. I know you're not supposed to agree with me because you're impartial.
No, I think I agree with you. It was over too soon. I think firing Barry Trotz was a mistake.
Yeah,
I'm sure I wrote something about that.
Yeah, but you expect that people read that.
Yeah, I do. You're right.
I mean, let's not take things for granted here.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, bud. Did that strike a chord? All right, we are dragging this one out. But yes, I want to thank you all for tuning in, hanging out with us here on a lovely Saturday evening in late May. So go back to enjoy your Saturday evening.
Yeah.
And for those you guys listening at your leisure,
wise guys
on your podcast providers, hope you enjoy it. Let's cue the music here. All right, folks.
Barry Nelson.
Huge thanks to Ethan Sears
and Barry
New
Nelson.
York Post. Yes, him too. For joining us on the show tonight. Once again, you can always tune in at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY for live shows, the archives, whatever you like, your favorite podcast providers. And, of course, a huge thanks to our sponsors, RJ Daniels American Bar and Grill, located at 2798 Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center. The best place to catch the Isles when you can't make it to the game. Don't just go for the Isles. They have live music, comedy nights, trivia, a late-night bar scene. They have it all. Huge thanks to Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Their brand new location in East Islip, and of course at UBS Arena. They're an official partner of the New York Islanders and the greatest deli around. Check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com for their great selections and hockey-themed heroes. Huge thanks to Ty Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. Check them out at TyTechnology.com for all your telecom needs. You give them a call at 516 856-7800 to get 3 free months of service. And a huge thanks to Oyster Bay Brewing Company located at 36 Audrey Avenue, Oyster Bay. You can order their great beers and merchandise at oysterbaybrewing.com for curbside pickup, local delivery, or shipping anywhere in New York, and get 15% off with coupon code HNINY. Once again, thanks so much. For Christian Arnold and Barry Nelson, my name is Sean Cuthbert. Thanks for tuning in. We'll keep you posted on the social medias when we'll be back next. Enjoy your summer. We'll see you next time.
Bye, Barry Nelson.